Obviously, number one, you want to have a fast start. I mean, that's something you talk about all the time with guys, and obviously, along with that, obviously, you want to be elite finishers, and certainly we couldn't make that claim tonight. Obviously, some positives early on. I think as much as anything, I look at it and I got to be better at the end. I think it probably looked at it, from the standpoint of expected maybe a little bit more of a passing fourth quarter. And their willingness to run the football. So I got to point the finger back at myself. I don't think I did a good enough job in that regard, kind of assessing the situation, assessing their mindset there in the fourth. So in any event, not enough plays on our side kind of made there, specifically in the second half. So we got to do a better job as coaches.
Guys responded to difficult plays or adversity when they happened. Did they bounce back, or did you see something in their eyes that maybe caused a red flag?
I think certainly shows a lot of positives that way. The fourth down stop late. Certainly had an opportunity for another kind of in a goal line situation all the way down to fourth down. Had a chance to make a play when they made it. We didn't. But I think it. I like the group. I like their response. Now we got to perform better in those moments, but just from the mentality standpoint, to answer your question, I certainly think it's a positive. I think that's a trust element between them as players, us as coaches. But certainly the performance has to be better.
Your linebackers are really active. Did you think so?
I did, and like anything, you'll get a better assessment as you watch the video. The bad plays are always the ones that stand out, post game and all those things. But no, I thought for the most part, felt like effort was pretty good, and some lulls in execution. Obviously, one particular drive where you got three big penalties that kind of negate some what could otherwise be a good night for some certain guys on defense.
What do you think about Jalen Redmond's? I mean, his first game back. It's been tough.
No doubt, it's good. I'm sure that there was a lot of excitement on his part, and you see a big athlete that needs to be a playmaker for us, and will be a playmaker for us, and it's kind of step one, for him and obviously for us. So no, thrilled to have him out there, and he's only going to get better.
You said last week that fewer than 2 takeaways would be extremely disappointing. Is that how you feel coming in here?
Yeah, it rips your heart out. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of asking an offensive coach, how you feel not scoring touchdowns. I mean, that's your purpose of being on the field. Certainly, obviously, you're excited by the win, but devastated that they got 2, we got none. Tell me why. I want to know why. So we got to do a better job as coaches.
Do you have a theory on why? I mean, or does that take watching film?
No, it takes watching film, but like anything, is the mindset? Is it not enough gang tackling? Is it opportunities to make a play in space that we didn't make that could otherwise provide an opportunity for a second guy to get in there, get the ball out? So all those things you look at, and is it want to, or are we not doing a good enough job as coaches to create that? And we'll assess that as we go.
Alex, I know you haven't been wrapped up in what happened before you got here, but this was a more aggressive bunch from those of us who saw it from last year. How did you increase the aggressiveness but make it a more sound unit? I mean, that seems like that's a fine line to walk, to crank up that fury but not be silly.
Well, so much of it is from a scheme standpoint, what you try to implement, and obviously it's the role of coaches to make it sound simple, repeatable, and adaptable. So it's sound from the standpoint you can get lined up. It's simple, and not simple day one, but simple over a 7-month time frame, which is where we found ourselves tonight. Simple enough that they can execute it. It's repeatable, something week in, week out, and then adaptable to every defense. So that's one, and then two, you make it a critical element to their daily practice habits. Playing in a downhill style, playing in an aggressive manner, and my again, not watching the video, I would suggest when we were aggressive, we were good, and we were passive, we were not, and that's defensive football. I would again suggest that when we watch the film, we're not going to say, doggone it, we were too aggressive on that play and it hurt us. And so that's something that we got to, good and bad, learn that lesson. When it's good, we're aggressive. When it's bad, we're passive, and some of that obviously comes back to us as coaches.
Alex, so many people talk or discuss or debate why it's difficult to play defense, in this day and age. But when you have 2 3-and-outs and your offense is out there making football look easy, like you're just going to keep scoring, I mean, as a coach, does that worry you almost when you're playing really well on defense and your offense is just churning it down the field?
Well, you'd be naive to say that there's not a psychology, element or a psychological element to this stuff, But easy's a myth. It never gets easy. It never will be easy, and try to really be specific. The idea of making another team quit or making another team, tap out. That we're playing 60. Any way you slice it, there's no mercy rule. There's none of that stuff. Obviously there's certainly I would suggest a little bit of a lack of maturity on our part tonight in some of those moments where you take a commanding lead, and then that seemed to be the drive that kind of went sideways for us, and then that again it goes back to us as coach. When I say it's immaturity, I'm saying we need to do a better job of getting these guys mature and doing it in a rapid pace here going into next week.
Is that maybe then what the lesson is tonight? Not so much uneven play, but just this is how hard it is to play 60 minutes the way we want to play.
Well, it's hard to win. I mean, number one, I will say that half the teams in the United States of America lost this weekend. They all thought they had good fall camps. They all thought they had good spring footballs, and you guys all got those quotes. And so it's hard to win football games. And so an elite offensive football team was here tonight, a quarterback that certainly is nationally known for his talent. And we certainly I felt like we did some good things. Is it good enough? No, it's not good enough. So there's a lot of elements to it. I think that's obviously one of it. But to circle just that piece is there's more to it.
What was the significance of the fourth down stop at the end of the game in your mind? Obviously, you guys got the ball back, but the game was basically kind of over. And was there any bigger significance to you guys getting that play?
No, I think the biggest thing is just the element of finish. Are we to be an elite defense, to be a good defense, and certainly we're a long way from being either. Is you got to be a finisher. We talk about takeaways. Well, takeaways is a finish to a play. You got to finish plays. You got to, from that standpoint, you got to finish drives. As you're referencing, you got to finish games. We can tell you we put in a freshman at the end and he gave up this and that. Well, those yards count, those points count. So I think that's the biggest thing is the excitement of kind of bowing up. I mean, if we're gonna knock them for the negative. And certainly, first off, we're going to knock ourselves as coaches and be disappointed when we don't get it right. We also got to, praise the positive. And again, disappointed we didn't get another fourth down stop down there on the goal line red zone area. So, but no, I thought that was certainly a positive.
Bunch of guys tonight. Is that something you expect to do in the coming weeks as well?
Well, we want to. And I think there's a lot of young guys that got some run tonight, and I'm sure there's some real great plays we're going to watch on video, and some that are head scratchers. But no, we'd like to play more than certainly just the 11. I've talked about that since I've been here. Did we get a full 22 out there tonight? Probably close. But they also got to. Obviously improve over the coming weeks, but game reps are critical. I mean, we rather say we rotated too much than say we didn't rotate enough, because as you go through a 12-game season, you got to keep the long game in mind and make sure that again, it's one thing to do in a practice, it's another thing for a young guy, a freshman, redshirt freshman, to do it when the lights come on.
So I feel like you're closer to the 22 number that you're talking about.
I think we're getting closer. Again, I couldn't tell you exactly how many guys played tonight, but there's some guys certainly defensively that played either their first meaningful snaps of defense as a college football player, and then there were several other guys that played their first snaps as college football players, and so they again probably some thumbs up, some thumbs down, and we'll continue to coach those guys.
Alex, was there anything in camp that's happened with Kenneth Murray where you felt like he was turning the corner for you? Because, I mean, we saw him out there making tackles, closing, space almost out of nowhere tonight.
Well, I think, number one, Coach Odom's done a phenomenal job with him. I think he has a real confidence level in the things that he's being asked to do, knows where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. And that allows a guy with, some elite physical and athletic traits to cut it loose and play, at his speed, which is a little bit different than what the bulk of the other guys are able to do. So I've been pleased with him, and I think for game one, I think you saw at least a glimpse of what he can be for us.